Very much for inviting me today. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it and come to Dubai because of actually just getting COVID a couple of days ago. Today, I'm going to talk to you about AI and mental health. Thank you for the introduction. I have very briefly about myself. I work at Mohammad bin Zayed University of AI. It's a relatively new university in Abu Dhabi, specialized in research in artificial intelligence. We're only master and PhD levels university. I'm also a fellow at the University of Oxford, working at the Nuffield Department of Clinical Neurosciences and the Acute Vascular Imaging Center. Right, so I can't claim that I am an expert in mental health, as simple as that, but hopefully I can give you and entertain you with some work that people do and we do in how to use artificial intelligence to help fight some of the problems in mental health. And this is the goal of today. Before I start talking about that, so I lead the Bay Media Group, as has been mentioned, which is a group of researcher, postdocs, research assistant, PhD student, and master student, which is a relatively large group working in many different problems in AI and healthcare in general. And we collaborate with many different local and international entities and always look for collaborators for AI and healthcare problems. Just to give you a glimpse of what we do, most of what I do is not in mental health. It's AI and healthcare in general, mostly in medical imaging, but some of the work we do is in mental health. And to be honest, I would love to see more research from the UAE and from my university towards mental health. Fortunately, all over the world, the amount of work in AI and other domain, not mental health, is actually more than what is happening in mental health, and how so will be great to have more and more people working on AI and mental health. Right, so my team and I work in problems such as cardiovascular problems, neurological problems, as my previous colleague mentioned in multiple sclerosis. We work on that, but from the imaging perspective, and many other healthcare problems. So before I actually start talking to you about AI and mental health, I thought it would be a good idea to start with just making some definitions. We all know, we all heard of artificial intelligence, but sometimes people get confused of different terminologies such as AI or machine learning or deep learning. So just very, very briefly, AI, think of that as a set of technologies and concepts which allows us to make the computer act smartly or does intelligent tasks, sort of like a human. But people get confused with machine learning and AI, and I'd like to describe machine learning as like sort of a subset of what we call AI algorithms. And it's a set of algorithms that are able to learn from experience. In simple term, if you are walking on the street and with your child, and then you say, "Oh, look, here's a bird," and what you just did is you just give an example to your son or daughter that this is a bird, and that's teaching by experience. That's what we do in the machine learning domain, where we utilize existing data and some knowledge on this data to train computer algorithms that are able to make sense of the data and hopefully predict or perform intelligent tasks. And in the heart of machine learning, there's a buzzword, we call it deep learning. And in very simple terms, this is the concept where we try to make this algorithm mimic how we human think. Some of the talks today were about how our brain works and the cognitive ability to human. And in deep learning, we try to develop similar or mimicking how we human think and make the computer think, hopefully in a relatively similar way. But there are many other terminologies that you probably come across, such as computer vision. This is where we work with images and videos of cameras and so on. And there's natural language processing. And in mental health, NLP is really important because working with textual data is important. NLP related to the study of text and sound and the use of machine learning to help analyze text and sound data. So that's very brief, and then let's just move on to the topic today, AI and mental health. There are so many places where AI has managed to help in mental health. For today's presentation, and for the sake of time, I will only focus on a few aspects, such as detection of mental health problems, diagnosis of different category types of mental health and subcategories of these mental health problems. And treatment. How could AI help in mental health? And just to make you understand that, why? The first question I'll start with is why AI in mental health? Why we may need that? Obviously, we have lots of doctors, but the number of people who are suffering from mental health problems is increasing. And to be able to help support doctors, then you might want, we need technologies that allows us to do this. We human can analyze data, can look into patient history and analyze it and come up with some decisions. But we can look for a limited amount of data. Unlike AI or computers, we can analyze much larger set of data. But they can do that in real time. If I'm a doctor, I could probably see a number of patients in one day, but an AI algorithm could look into thousands or millions of patients in real time because it's effortless for a computer to review data. Now, with an increasing number of data, this means that artificial intelligence allows us to digest and understand and find and pick up patterns that are not easy to find by human eye. Just to give you an example, not in mental health, maybe in just another healthcare problem. Recently, a group of scientists have managed to find interesting regions around the vessels around the heart, and they correlated some of their patterns with coronary artery disease or blockage or stenosis in the heart. And that's by looking at medical imaging data. But the same thing in mental health, where there are now more and more data that's generated from us. Previously, maybe we didn't have social media. Now we have social media. And a doctor can't just go to a social media account of a patient and to review all his or her posts to understand what's going on with the patient, right? But a computer program can. And also AI is able to improve itself over time. So with data, more data to come in the future, artificial intelligence can look into new data and improve the decision made by an algorithm. So let me now move on to where actually AI could help. And start with detection. A group of researchers all over, there are multiple groups of researchers who have looked into detecting or early detection of mental health issues such as depression, stress, and other issues such as self-harm on social media and so on. And they do that by looking into data about people. Data could be in the source of videos, such as in this example, I'm showing you an image of a person where AI could just tell you this is a depressed person from looking into first one image of that person. And if it changes, it just also can give you information whether the patient is angry or depressed or so on. But there are many other sources of data, such as sound. Now, lots of us utilize, I don't know, like WhatsApp to send sound. Could we analyze this sound and early detect some mental health problems? And this group of scientists work on sound processing for natural language processing. Another source is language or text. Many of us, actually, this takes me to the point of social media. Social media, we use social media a lot. I don't, to be honest, probably just use one platform. But many people use like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. And there are billions of posts every day. Human can't review that. Like, for instance, Facebook can't hire a group of people to review every single post. Therefore, they're actually working. They have AI-driven solutions that reviews posts. And that's important for mental health issues, because if you can detect a person who is unlikely, especially at the beginning of having mental issues, unlikely to go and visit a health professional to take advice, they're more likely to put their information, their issues, implicitly within their social media account. And therefore, analyzing text, sound, and videos on social media is an important thing. There are quite a lot now, a more increasing number of research done on how to develop AI algorithm or deep learning algorithm to review, to check, to categorize mental health issues from social media data. Obviously, there are challenges such as privacy, which I'll talk about later on. But the good thing about AI is it is able to perform real-time analysis of data. Unlike us, a human, we can't really look at billions of records. And also, AI could trigger issues, such as a person with self-harm or possibility of self-harm, that could be triggered to, for instance, if that's a child or a teenager, that could be triggered to the school or to the parent, and so on. So, for instance, in a recent study, scientists showed that machine learning could actually predict suicidal from social media posts, and other researchers looked into bullying and self-harm and so on. So that's where AI could actually be very helpful, where we can utilize it to read or to review, to understand and find subtle pattern within the text or sound or videos of people to help people who are suffering from mental health issues. Very briefly, for the sake of time, I'm going to talk about diagnosis and treatment, because that's the couple of slides I mentioned were about detection. Also, mental health could be diagnosed better with AI to support doctors. For instance, a group of researchers has shown that they can have an AI algorithm with a high sensitivity to detect or actually categorize different subtypes of mental health issues, which even doctors find it tricky. And not only that, if you can define the subtype or the problem itself and identify the mental health problem accurately, then you can perform a better treatment, such as you can also have a personalized care for that person. And this comes under the umbrella that the colleague in the previous talk mentioned about precision medicine, where you can utilize that to perform personalized treatment, personalized medicine for people. Chatbot is an important aspect. Now, there's a study that has been recently published that showed people with mental health issues, especially at the beginning of their problems, they're more likely to go and talk to a chatbot than go to talk to a healthcare professional. It's unfortunate, but reality. Therefore, having chatbots which are able to help people with their mental health problems is an important thing. On top of that, AI is a real-time help. It's not like I have to go and seek things. I have to go and book an appointment and see a doctor often. So it could provide a first aid support. I think of it this way to people. So let's just focus on chatbots. I can't claim that I'm aware how well the different chatbots available now. There are chatbots available for mental health. I'm showing 4 examples here. I have no knowledge of any of these. I haven't used them. But what I know from AI research that we are actually behind. Conversation with chatbot is not perfect yet. There's still much work to do. In fact, if you compare, you probably have been using normal chatbots such as Siri or Alexa, and you can see that they can have a conversation with you, but it is a limited conversation. They can't go further with questions. So if you ask Siri 2 or 3 questions later on, the answers will not be actually coherent to what you are trying to ask. They're the same thing in mental health. The chatbot that has been implemented so far, they're not fantastic. But with the advancement of AI and natural language processing, we're improving. Researchers are improving on the robustness of these chatbots. Let me give you an example of a research project that we have started recently in Mohammad bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. We wanted that for an Arabic language. We call it Kalimi. Kalimi in Arabic language refers to talk to me. Okay, I'll leave you for like 2-3 minutes with a little video, and then we'll continue my talk.
Is this gonna last forever? I don't have the energy for people, friends. I don't have energy at all. I fell out of love with everything, and I convinced myself that everyone fell out of love with me.
According to the CDC, mental illnesses are among the most common health conditions in the United States. In fact, more than 50% of people will be diagnosed with mental health illness or disorder throughout their lifetime. The World Health Organization states that almost 700,000 suicides happen every year, and the number of attempted suicides exceeds 20 times that. When it comes to the UAE, mental health was affected dramatically after the COVID-19 pandemic. 86% of the UAE workforce were affected. The effect did not only occur at the workplace, but it also did affect 91% of people in their own homes. Kalimi. Kalimi is an Arabic word that means talk to me. The concept is to introduce an AI-enabled platform where mental health issues will be tackled. According to a recent study at the University of Sharjah, 57.2% of 700 adult participants reported at least one mental health issue. This figure shows the 5 most common mental health issues, which are anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, phobic disorder, and personality disorder. If you focus on the numbers, it will add up to more than 100%. But
So I'll stop here and just very briefly in my own words, I'll give you an example. So what we're trying to develop is currently is a chatbot, an intelligent chatbot, which is able to learn. And unfortunately, there aren't many work has been done in Arabic language. We're looking into a chatbot who's able to talk to people and who are suffering some mental health problems and help them during their journey. And that's in Arabic. It is targeted for Arabic language, but the goal eventually will be that we'll try it for many other languages. Right. So moving on to just finish up my talk. Before I do finish up my talk, I want to just also talk about a very important thing, which is challenges and concerns when it comes to the use of AI in mental health. In fact, these are challenges not in mental health only, but in many other problems. So, for instance, trust and acceptability. Will you, as a patient or a person, will you trust an AI or a chatbot? Will you trust an AI to diagnose you, to tell you something about your health? And that's something we always face, not just in mental health, but in many other healthcare problems. There are many other issues. I mentioned privacy very briefly, which is a major concern for many people. Like we've heard that many people, they don't want to share their data, which is understandable. And also on top of privacy is security. We hear about breaching and hacking into people's data. Since AI is hungry for data, is hungry for computation, many of its application runs on the cloud, which means some people think it's actually less secure, which is arguable. Another thing is accountability. If things go wrong, if an AI agent make a wrong decision, who's accountable? Is it the company who made it? Is it the regulator? Who is accountable? Unfortunately, until now, there's no very clear policies all over the world when it comes to accountability in AI. But these things are improving because many countries are moving ahead with the use of AI. So the take-home message before I finish is AI has been helping a lot in medical imaging application, not as much, to be honest, in the mental health problem, which I would love to see more and more research is done in this domain. AI could help in the detection, diagnosis, and treatment in mental health. So the take-home message for me is that I think we need more research to be done on AI in mental health. Since now we have more and more data and we have bigger improvement in AI algorithm and hardware capabilities. And with that, I would like to thank you very much, and I'll take the question in the Q&A session later on. Thank you very much.